looking at Tarot 2x2, where we look at each of the cards of the Major Arcana and its alter ego. As we know, the first 10 cards go on the Tree of Life, and the alter ego is the second 10 cards, which go on the Tree of Knowledge. Today we're doing the Emperor card. This is the fourth card, and we'll discuss this card completely in just a second. As a brief recap, we talked about the first three cards, and the first three cards are the Magician, the High Priestess, and the Empress. These three cards are, in a sense, above our understanding. It's the supernal trinity. This is what forms the structure of the universe. It's hard for us to really relate to these cards because they are above our ken, as it were. When we have readings and these three cards come up, we pay attention. These are major players in the cards. They are causal cards. They are root cards. They're foundational cards. We move now past this causal trinity here to the next level down. That's the level right above ours. Although we can't achieve that level, they show us two archetypes that we can strive for. It is the perfect leader and the perfect teacher. And today we're going to look at the Emperor as the perfect teacher. Of course, he's a lot more than a teacher. We've discussed that Tarot 2x2, we're going to go through the Major Arcana. We're doing this for insights into how to do a reading with the tarot cards. As a general rule, when we're doing readings, when the Minor Arcana comes up, those are forces that are confronting you. You do have a chance to avoid them. They can affect you, but not necessarily. You can take pains to get out of the influence of any card in the Minor Arcana. For the purpose of fortune telling, we treat the Major Arcana as forces in your life that are more powerful than you are and cannot be avoided or overcome. And this is one of the wisdoms of the cards, is that we have to pick our fights. We have to pick the hill that we're going to die on. We don't want to throw ourselves at an adversary that is more powerful than we are. One of the things as we go through the tarot cards, and now we're moving full speed into reading fortunes, the tarot cards, as we learn them, will connect us with Kabbalistic wisdom. And there are quite a number of little lessons as we compare the two cards on the two trees. In this case, we're using the tarot cards like a crystal ball or tea leaves or the I Ching as a way to tell fortunes. There is a logical and practical reason to tell fortunes, and I know that very often this becomes a little bit demonized. Fortune telling offers a way to construct a possible future, a future you may not have thought of. It can break you out of some of the paradigms, some of the habits you have of thinking, and it will offer you a new way of looking at things. It does this by engaging your subconscious. Unlike perhaps tea leaves and crystal balls, the tarot cards have a very studied psychological integrity to them that enriches our fortune telling. It gives us more information, and it triggers our hidden understanding that lurks in our subconscious. Each tarot card is a psychological or archetypical experience that we all share. The tarot cards have been worked out over a period of many, many years to encapsulate something that we all go through at different levels. We've talked about the top cards, the supernal triad, the engine of creation. The top 3 cards provide the structure to our universe. The next pair of cards, what we're talking about today, represent the structure of our universe. The Emperor is unification, and across on that same level we have the Hierophant, who is education, and we'll get into that a little bit more. The Emperor exists on the Sephira Hesed. Across from Hesed on the Sephira Gevira is the Hierophant. This is brother and sister. I know when we read Weight, he will describe the relationship between Bina and the Emperor as a marriage. We really don't see it that way. The upper triad creates the universe, and Bina creates the Emperor more like her child, more like her son. It is above our realm, and it is just as the upper realm starts to encounter some darkness. Let's talk a bit about the Emperor and some of the things that he means. When the Emperor is shown in a spread, it has fairly specific meanings, and we're going to get into that. This is not a particularly vague card. The Emperor is the King of Kings. His authority is undisputed. His power is unchallenged. His place on the tree is the left pillar, and that's the pillar of mercy. Another word that describes this pillar perfectly is the pillar of growth. The Emperor forgives. The Emperor welcomes. The Emperor stimulates development and growth in all areas. The Emperor does not restrict or prevent. That's not his nature. His nature is to allow. The Emperor sits on the card upon a stone throne decorated with carvings of ram's heads. Over top his full armor is a scarlet robe. He wears a golden crown and holds a golden scepter in one hand and a golden globe in the other. Behind him are rugged cliffs. One message we're going to bring out a number of times is that this 2x2 series, we're aiming at telling fortunes, and as we tell fortunes, it's not our job to try to teach the Kabbalah or the Tree of Life or the Tree of Wisdom, and that is can be a mistake. When a person comes to have their fortune told, they want to know how these cards reflect themselves. The person is there to talk about themselves, and we want to always remember that, and we don't want to turn this into a lesson of history, philosophy, or belief. Fortune telling is an instructive entertainment that should be skillfully done and not taken too seriously, in the sense that this is one possible future. It has no power. It offers you just something to look at. Okay, if you actually met the Emperor, what would your impression be? And this will get to the heart of the Emperor, and this is something that we don't see in a world where powerful figures are chosen by the popular vote, or they have their rank inherited. We've talked about the kings before, and the Emperor is the King of Kings. These are people, and they can be men or female. We've seen Joan of Arc, Eleanor of Aquitaine, monarchs, kings, emperors. Would there be an empress in that case, that kind of power can be within a male or a female body. If you met him, you would be attracted to him. It's a different kind of person, and not everybody has met this kind of person. And when we do, sometimes it tends to be, we tend to discover it's superficial. One of the things that we have to remember is that everybody wants to follow the emperor. Men want to gather, they want to follow him, they want to be associated with his name. Women admire him, many women love him. This is not his power. This is an aspect of who he is and what he is. The emperor is indestructible, but very few people have seen him do battle, have seen him fight, have seen him have to defeat anyone. And perhaps some people might think this guy just rests on his reputation, but that's not true at all. All humans are literally and emotionally attracted to him. They're literally attracted to him because people want to travel and seek to be near him physically. If you met an emperor, you would want to follow him. You would admire him and trust him. The emperor brought great changes in the land and in the lives of people. The emperor became the end of war, the end of raids and attacks. He became the beginning of prosperity on things that could develop over generations. The things the fathers had done could be continued by his sons and daughters, and so on. The emperor is the benevolent ruler, and there's really no better name that I know for the emperor. He cannot be hurt. He does not attack. He doesn't need to attack. He can, and if he did, he would be successful. There are none more powerful than the emperor. But that is not where his power lies. His power lies in a more subtle way. And as I said, it's based on mercy and growth. This is not a leader who threatens with destruction. The influence of the emperor will extend into all the other suits. In swords, which is power, if the emperor shows up, you would say, yes, this is a suit of power. Yes, the emperor acquires power, but this is for defense and protection. This is not the acquisition of power to hurt or destroy. This is the acquisition of power to preserve and to prevent attack from others. In cups, the emperor allows people to increase their wealth simply by putting an end to robbery in the area where, in his area, where laws can be enforced, built up, and developed. In staffs, which is the sign of enterprise and plans, the emperor allows different plans with different aims to grow and develop and get along. The emperor is a way of reducing and often limiting adversity. When different things, religions, practices, belief systems can exist day to day, side by side, and not come into conflict, that is that umbrella effect of the benevolence of the emperor. We'll just talk a little bit when this card comes down, what the emperor does not mean. And I think we've touched on that a little bit. The emperor does not mean confrontation. The emperor is about communication and cooperation. The emperor is about sharing power. No one takes any power away from the emperor, but the emperor can allocate. His control and his influence can also be spread through other people without diminishing anything from him. The emperor is not about cruelty. There's nothing about the Emperor that seeks to harm for the sake of harm, that seeks to punish. The Emperor is not about revenge. That's not a part of his personality. His personality is a binding nature, a bringing together and keeping together in a way that protects from outside influences. Okay. We're going to take a look at just a few examples of how, in a vertical 3-card spread describing the personality of the aspirant, how the presence of the Emperor might influence those cards. And we'll take a look at 3 examples. Let's say that in the first example, you were looking at a person and these 2 cards came down. The top card represents you've been given the chance to make a wish, to get something for free. What you don't know is that all these wishes are tricks and traps, and they won't benefit you. The card underneath is you're feeling some happiness, but it's from the past. It's memories that are giving you joy. If we combine this with the Emperor, we can see a card of disappointing choices. We see a card of your happiness is coming from long ago, not from the present. When we combine that with the Emperor, we have to somehow merge these different meanings, and this is how I would do it. The Emperor is about control, is about binding, is about bringing people together. These 2 cards are about things in your personal life that are not going well, choices that turn out to be traps, and the happiness you receive now is just from memory, not from what you're doing now. When we combine this with the Emperor, who is the King of Kings, the benevolent ruler, we might have a sense of a reading that would go something like, it's time to get over your personal misery and try to unite the discord in your life in a way that allows it to be more positively functional. Yes, there are some difficulties, some emotional problems. With the Emperor card, it is saying, put those aside and answer your destiny. You have the ability to bring people together in a way that they want to be brought together. Use that. Don't dwell on the problems in your life. Your job may be bigger than your life. We'll take a look at another 3 cards, and we'll see how the Emperor, when introduced, might mean something. These 2 cards, in a similar way, things are not going well for this person. On the one hand, they're lost and injured with no place to go. And in this case, heartbreak. They have used power and they have lost some love from somebody. Something in their use of power has led to a loss of affection. These 2 cards might make it kind of a sad reading up to that point. When we combine it with the Emperor, we see that similarly to the first set of cards, there is a job here that supersedes your circumstances. In the last set of cards we saw there are jobs that supersede your feelings. Put your feelings aside, cry when you get home, you've got a job to do now. In this case, it's getting past your circumstances. You're poor and alone, your emotions are injured, but you have to lead by example. Another case of you have a job to do, you have the ability to do it. This may be part of your destiny to develop this strength and spend less time in introversion. Finally, we'll look at cards that might turn out to be a little bit more warlike. In these two cards, we have the first one: you have been stolen from. Somebody has challenged you and won, and they make off with the rewards, which some of which may be your possessions. You have been defeated, and you have lost as a result. In this card, we see the Knight of Swords charging in the direction of severity, which is the nature of swords. He is angry, and he is powerful, and maybe he wants to get back what he lost or to demonstrate that he is not a loser. When combined with the Emperor, we will see the reading a little bit different. Yes, you have been stolen from. Yes, you feel a degree of heartbreak. Yes, you want change in your life. But the only change you should make right now is to choose leadership over revenge. You are on the call, well, you are. The Emperor is on the side of mercy. There is no revenge when you are absorbing the spirit of the Emperor. This card by itself might suggest bad feelings following them bad actions. The Emperor modifies that and it takes it to a higher level of compassion. Finally, we don't want, and I think I've sort of mentioned this a couple of times, we don't want to share all aspects of our knowledge in a reading. We don't want to confuse the reading by introducing too much about Kabbalah or the various meanings of a single card. That's not our job. We keep a lot of info in our head, and that informs our reading. This background information we shouldn't share with the people we're doing a reading for because it's confusing to them, and they won't be able to hold any kind of an interest because they won't be able to make sense. And what they're there for is a kind of a distorted mirror image of their own life and their own future, with the understanding this is not set in stone. This is just one possible thing. I'll just briefly mention one thing. There is another side to the Emperor. Now let me just find where I put him for a second here. Oh, I was here a minute ago. And the other side, that's on the other tree. We know that, I keep saying don't I? We know that the Hierophant is the sister of the Emperor. But we know that the Emperor on the other tree has an altar image. Hesed on the other tree is not the Emperor, it's the devil. I'll just mention that very briefly. Here he is. The other side of the Emperor is the devil card. And we've talked a bit about this. This is not the biblical devil. This is not evil. This comes from a belief system before Christianity, and it has to do with being bedeviled. It has to do with instead of higher motivations, you start to become a little more petty, a little more interested in how you're seen by others. The bedevilment is by adoration. And I bring this now. The Emperor is a wonderful card. It is an archetype of the highest ideals of leadership in humanity. There is a condition where any person who has too much adoration, their psychology will change and it's they don't become evil. This this is not an evil power, the devil. This is just somebody that gets to like adoration too much and believe it too much. They think they're good, but people tell them that they're great. So then they believe they're great. And the people think, well, then they must be magnificently great. And they mention that, they display that, and the leader thinks he's even greater than he was, greater than he is. And it's a feedback loop between the people who adore him and the person being adored, which changes the personality. This is a necessary thing. This is like vinegar and baking soda cause a reaction. Power with sustained adoration can very often alter a person. The devil is not an evil card. And the people at his side love him, and their chains can easily be removed. It's just a card where the person with power starts to believe a little too much in his own image and seeks to glorify his own image. So there is nothing bad about the emperor, but the condition of the emperor can be very difficult for a human to endure for very long without becoming just a little bit changed by the experience. Subjects worship the leader gets an inflated idea of his or her own power and potential, and eventually the leader begins to need that adoration. They seek it. Every day they check on it. They want statues and pictures, validation and verification. The devil only has willing devotees, but these devotees start to change his attitude from the very highest of motivations of the emperor to some of the more base and selfish ideals of the devil card. In a reading, we can warn about the infatuation some people have with power and the tendency of some leaders to seek adulation. We can mention that. But in general, the Emperor card is an iconic image of absolute power and control without the need of display. Okay, Joss, do we have any questions?
Before we have Ekaterina, Sarah, Chad Hat, Danny, Glimrock, Scribe, Hasker, and Piu who say hi.
Hi, all of you. Thank you.
Is the Emperor an invincible warrior?
Yes, he absolutely is. He has no need to be a warrior anymore. And it's not just reputation. It's more like recognition. There is something when you are in this person's presence that gives you great confidence. I hope that answers it a bit anyway.
How does a warrior bring peace?
Not any warrior can bring peace, of course, and many warriors can bring war. But this is the emperor. And with the emperor, petty kings unite under his flag, so to speak. Warring chieftains will put aside their grievances to work under his law. The way the emperor brings peace is that the lesser kings aren't constantly squabbling over lands and different laws. There is a sense of unity under the emperor that you don't see with lesser forms of power.
Can the Emperor be a woman?
Absolutely. We mentioned Joan of Arc, Eleanor of Aquitaine, and we're talking about a male essence. But men and women all possess male and female essences. We are on the side of mercy or growth with this card, and in this card, the male essence is forgiveness, joining, and peace.
Are people afraid of the emperor?
It's not fear, it's a recognition of power. By recognizing his power, somebody might say something like, oh, well, he would be a formidable enemy. That's true. But those under his influence are freed from fear. They no longer have robbery and raids and discord and laws broken with no recourse. People see the emperor as a sign of peace and contentment.
Can anyone with work and dedication become the emperor?
We mentioned before that we're in a world now where power and authority often comes from voting, where the majority of votes puts that person into power, or perhaps by bloodlines. One of their parents was powerful, so they would like to inherit that power. But that's not the case with the emperor or the Hierophant. These are ideals, these are archetypes that we can strive for, but never achieve. In that sense, there is still an element of perfection to the emperor. The emperor might be like King Arthur. He takes warriors and communities and turns them into cooperative kingdoms.
Is the emperor powerful because no one can defeat him?
That's not why he's powerful. Everything that you said is true. Yes, he is invulnerable and invincible, but his greatest power is that nobody wants to defeat him. It is in their interests to have a person like the emperor there because he's on the side of mercy and growth. Now, if the emperor was on the side of severity, it would be a different thing, but the emperor is on the side of mercy and growth, and nobody wants to defeat him any more than you want to put a hole in the boat that you're floating in. He is a means of evolving our state of living. He unites.
Sarah Williams is asking, if the devil card comes up in a reading, what advice do you give?
That's a great question. And we have to proceed gently with the devil card because it's so loaded with Christian values that don't apply to this card because it was developed before that time. Can you just read me that question just one more time, Joss?
If the devil card comes up in a reading.
Okay, yeah. The devil card is somebody who does good things, who may be strong, who may be wise, who is respected. The devil card, in fact, may be a person like the emperor, who's been an emperor for a while, and who has people that respect him and admire him. If the devil card comes up in a reading, the suggestion to the person that you could make is perhaps they are spending too much time and effort worrying what other people think of them. That perhaps their reputation is more important than their deeds. And that's a really big question. There's a famous question, would you rather be thought highly of for something you really didn't do? Or what's the other half of that? Or would you rather, or would you, I
Or
think
if you've earned it. Like
yeah.
You want.
Okay, let me try to rephrase this. If you really didn't do something, but everybody thought you did and respected you, would you let that ride? I think I'm losing my train of thought here. Just fill me in a bit.
Or would you sort of own up to the fact that, well, really that wasn't I didn't do it, somebody else did, or it wasn't my idea? Or do you just accept it as a given?
Yeah, in the case of if you want to know the big difference, the emperor is trying to do the best for everybody. He is trying to make the kingdom great, the people's lives develop. He wants the different suits to be fulfilled. He wants happiness and cups to be enjoyed by everyone without fear of it being taken away. The different plans of the staffs can all exist in a community without fighting amongst each other because of this kind of sanctuary effect that the emperor offers. Even with swords and power, it is the kingdom of the emperor that allows these different powers to exist in different niches without starting to wage war on each other. And of course, in coins, the emperor allows individual wealth without having it stolen from him. When we talk about the devil card, it's just a question you want to ask the person. Are you doing this for the same reasons you used to do it? Or is there perhaps an effect that you're doing this because it's going to look good? The devil doesn't just do things so they look good. He does things so he gets the admiration of people. The people around him start to reward his efforts with praise. And that's the thing that the devil card suggests, that we're working for our ego rather than for the outside world. And that's it for the emperor. We're going to take a look at his sister, the Hierophant, next day, and she is the teacher. He binds people, she elevates people. He is very kind, compassionate, and open. She is not. She is very restrictive. She's very severe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next Wednesday. Bye for now. Oh no, we're missing next Wednesday. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye for now.